All right, everybody, how are you tonight? We are live on Facebook with Tuesday Talks for Margaret, and we're actually in my courtroom. So we're going to have a little bit of a conversation about court and how things are going. So Stephanie, how are you this week?
I'm good. I can't believe it's only Tuesday, and I mean, so much has been going on. I'm sure you're even, busier than I am. You're running around all over the place. That's why we have to do Tuesday Talks in your courtroom today, I see.
Well, we're really busy right now because we are actually in the election cycle. So ballots went out yesterday for Clark County, Nevada for the county. And so they should be received Thursday or Friday. So this is going to be a big push in the next 2 weeks to make sure people fill out their ballots and that they return them. And so we're going to talk a little bit tonight about how to fill out their ballots because this is our first all mail-in voting. So we've never done that. Everybody will be voting by mail.
So I actually went out and tried to look in my mail today to see if I received anything. I haven't gotten in the mail yet, but I did find what the envelope would look like, and maybe I can share that with everyone right now, because what should people be looking for in the mail so that they know that this is the mail-in ballot?
Right, so that's an example of the mail-in ballot. You should be looking for this. It will come to you automatically if you're a registered voter in Clark County. The Secretary of State is sending those ballots out to everybody. They went out yesterday. They should be received probably Thursday or Friday, if not earlier. So make sure you open the ballot and open the envelope and look at the ballot. I think we have a picture of a ballot so everyone can see. It's really short, a page and a half.
Yep,
so it's going to be pretty simple. And it's almost exclusively judicial races. So it's only a page and a half. And I'm on page 2.
Hey,
so
right
I'm on page 2.
Let's find you right here. Oh, there you are right there. So people need to go to the second page and look for your name right there. Check that
second page near the bottom of the left side. Make sure you vote Pick Pickard. Now, after you vote and you fill it out, and if you don't know who to vote for, please talk to somebody you trust. Take a look at the candidates' websites. A lot of candidates have social media information about their qualifications. It's a great way. Ask a trusted friend. When you're done with your ballot, one thing that's huge that we've been warned is that most people are going to forget to fill out their ballots. And so, forget to do this one thing. I'm going to show this to you. Sign the back of your ballot. So not only lick the ballot and close the ballot, but you have to sign across the seal. And they anticipate most people will forget that step.
I didn't know that. So wait, what happens if they forget though? What if they don't?
If they forget, then they're going to the Secretary of State will try to contact you as best they can to have you come in and sign it so that you can verify your signature. So it's going to be a real pain if you forget. Just turn the envelope over, sign the back, and then put it in the mail. Postage is prepaid on these.
Yeah, and I think it actually says that on the front ballot too, I realized. Let me show you the instruction here. If people forget, it says right here on the front, complete and sign the declaration on the back of the envelope, mail the return envelope with the ballot. So just a reminder there too, but that's good. So other than signing, that's really important. Is there anything else that people need to know about these mail-in ballots?
Well, just make sure that you have them postmarked by June 9th. They actually expect most voters will have them within the first 2 weeks, have them returned back in the mail within the first 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. I highly recommend you do it within the first 2 weeks because most people will otherwise lose the ballot or possibly forget about it. And votes are really important. And one thing I want to say to everybody is, as everybody probably knows who knows me, that my husband's in politics. He won his vote by 24 votes out of 57,000 votes that were cast. So please don't ever think your vote doesn't matter because your vote absolutely matters. So make sure you vote and all your friends vote. And if you need to know who to vote for, pick Pickard. There's 2 picks on the ballot because there's a Pickering and a Pickard. So make sure you pick Pickard. So I appreciate everybody's vote. So we wanted to kind of get that message out, especially because we've never had it like this before, where everybody will be voting by mail. So it'll be a good experiment. We're kind of doing it on the fly. So it's kind of interesting.
I'm glad that you explained that because I have not done it by mail-in ballot before too. I always went down and found a place to vote. So this is really helpful. So make sure you sign those envelopes, everyone, right? Because that's really important.
Right. Couldn't be easier. It's just going to come to you in the mail. You can just fill it out and return it, sign the back, and then you're good.
And pick Pickard, second page. Look for that name.
That's right. Pick Pickard.
So
Margaret Pickard.
I'm excited to see a little bit more of your courtroom today,
So
too.
I'm going to kind of do a view of the courtroom. So this is as though you're walking in the back, the front, what we call the front door, but it's the back for me, but it's the front. So if you were a litigant and you were walking in the back, this is what it would look like. And you would walk up in the middle. And then interestingly, the district attorney's on the left and the parents and the attorneys for the children are on the right. So parents and guardians, it says parents and guardians. And then the state and the Department of Family Services are over here. So let me tell you what this court does. This is one of 6 what we call dependency departments, and it's a child welfare courtroom. And what that is that if a child has been removed from their parents because there are serious safety issues, then within 72 hours of a child being removed from their parents, you must come before a judicial officer in order for it to be reviewed to determine whether or not there's reasonable cause to believe that it really was contrary to the welfare of the children to be removed from the parental home, and whether the department has made reasonable efforts like an in-home safety plan, done everything they can to try to keep those kids at home or with family. And so when children are removed, the number one person that they'll look for to place those children with will be grandparents, aunts, uncles, somebody within the family.
That's good.
And then second, they'll look for what we call fictive kin. And fictive kin means somebody who the child knows. So in other words, if you have children and they're friends with the neighbor kids, or they're friends with somebody from school and they have a comfortable relationship, we want to put those kids in those fictive kin homes, or first family, then fictive kin, because we want to make sure those kids aren't traumatized, or it's as little as possible traumatized by the removal. And then third is foster. And usually kids will be placed into Child Haven, which is a congregate care, which is like an orphanage, but it's not. And it's right here at the Family Court campus. And it'll be almost immediately, most kids will be placed right into a foster home. So can you imagine being a foster parent? You get a call at 11 o'clock at night that the police have been involved in an incident with the children at home, and the children had to be removed because maybe both of their parents were taken into custody or under the influence and can't have the children. And that foster parent will drive down to Child Haven in the middle of the night and pick those kids up. And we have a great place called Peggy's Attic. And Peggy's Attic is right behind the courthouse. If you ever want to donate anything, that's a great place to donate clothing, toys, all these things that a foster parent's going to need. So the day after the removal, or if it's during the day, they can go shop at Peggy's Attic and get all the clothes they need. Because most kids leave their home with literally the clothes on their back. Hopefully a special blanket or something, but we try to make sure they get clothing as soon as possible. They can get toys, diapers, anything that the foster parents need are at Peggy's Attic. So if you want to donate, it's a great place to donate items to. You can always call me. I'll pick them up and I'll take them to Peggy's Attic because I am an advocate for their facility. So that's what we do the first hearing. Then when we're here in court, I will appoint an attorney to the parents who are present, or if they're in custody, and then we will come back for a plea hearing. And a plea hearing means that an individual can work with their attorney to decide if they're going to admit the information that's being alleged against them, like that they were driving under the influence, or that they were arrested for drug, alcohol, or mental health. They were arrested for drug issues, for example, or domestic violence is another common issue that we see. So we appoint them an attorney, and then we move through the process with the goal of always returning those kids to the parents if the parents can be safe and appropriate. So I know somebody asked me if I would show them what the bench looks like from close up. So let me just kind of show you. This is called the bar. This is the bar. So interestingly, people don't always realize when you pass the bar, when you're a law student and you pass the bar exam, you get to walk through the bar in a courtroom. So that's the bar. So it's literal and figurative. And this is my bench. This is where I sit every day. Here is my justice. Justice is blind, and this is my statute that my husband, you can't see it, that my husband gave me when he was up at the legislature. He bought this for me for being gone for 4 months. And it's just beautiful because justice is blind and it's always equal. So that it stands for so much. And so I had that on my bench, and then here we are. It's my comfortable little chair, and I have 2 monitors. I'm always on my computer taking notes, reviewing the history of the case. This is where the marshal sits right here. The marshal will be in charge of safety of the courtroom, as well as who's called in for each case and what order they're called in. So I always would defer to the marshal if there's any safety issues. If a parent gets really upset, for example, in court, what will happen is my marshal, Tom, will call for backup. And usually if you have other officers in the courtroom, we've had up to 5 to 6 at times, that parent will usually calm down because they realize there's consequences. Not that we're saying anything or doing anything. We're simply bringing other people in the courtroom, and that tends to reduce the stress level in the courtroom. And it's important that people also feel heard. And I always give parents the opportunity to speak, but I also warn them, if it's your first hearing in court, you may not want to say a whole lot before you talk to your attorney, because you may be making all kinds of admissions. I'll give you an example. Let's say you have a parent that goes, well, I know I was driving drunk and I really didn't mean to be drinking so much. That's an admission right there. So I always say before, if parents start to speak, I say, hey, you are so welcome to say whatever you want, but you may want to wait until you have your attorney at the next hearing, because the first hearing, they don't have an attorney with them. We're just coming in to review the removal and getting them an attorney right away. This is the clerk's desk. Many of you might be familiar with the role of the clerk, but the role of the clerk is to make sure that the record is kept. So as soon as we go on, there's a little microphone right here, and everybody's microphone will turn red. And that means we're on the record and we're recording. So when I start a case, if I don't see the red, I have to stop. And sometimes I have false starts. It's not uncommon for me to start a case 2 or 3 times in order to make sure that this red light is on. And maybe that's because it doesn't go on, or there's just the clerk is changing what is changing back and forth between cases. And while this courtroom you see here is usually filled to the brim with Department of Family Services and parents attorney, it's literally sometimes standing room only. This is what we're doing now. This is our television screen. And so just like a Zoom hearing, you'll see little tiles of everybody who's called in for the hearing. So we're doing everything telephonically. So interestingly, we're getting a lot more parents who are engaged in the process because they're not having to take the bus across town. They can just get on to their phone, their video conference, and I'll also call parents. And that's how most of our, say 99% of our hearings are happening right now because of the coronavirus. So I'm going to take you up on the bench. So this is my view. So I walk in, this is how I walk in. I walk up here, and this is what I come to.
Good look behind the bench, huh?
This is a look behind the bench. And so it's not very exciting, is it? This is my chair, and I always just pull it out, but I want to show you because I've had so much interest in my robe. So this is one of my robes. This is a blue robe. Interestingly, because I'm a hearing master, I'm not allowed to wear it for any advertisements. I can only hold it and show you what it looks like. But it's very insulated, so it's very warm. So that's one reason courtrooms often are cold. But it's interesting because I want to show you, you can see female robes tend to have braid on them like this. Let me kind of take this here. Can you see it? So female robes tend to have braid on them. And there's also, interestingly, one side that has a pocket that you can put your hands all the way through, so that if you have something in your pants pocket, you can reach it. So it's an open pocket on one side of the robe, and the other side of the robe is a regular pocket.
Okay, so I see. So one actually goes all the way to your clothing, and the other one's just a pocket.
Yes, and which is really helpful, because if I put my phone in my pocket and I don't want to have to lift up the robe to get it, I just put my hand in the empty pocket or the clear pocket, and I can get whatever I want. So I have a black robe and I have two black robes and a blue robe, a navy blue. Some judges have purple robes or green robes or gold robes. I just stayed with the traditional robe. And so,
wear any color, or is it specific colors that you have to wear?
You can wear any color. I tend to wear black and blue. And then also I have snaps on my robe. I like snaps. I don't like zippers, because snaps, sometimes I just snap the top 3 and I sit down. I don't know if the reception is really good here on my bench. Is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay so far.
So yeah, so then I just put my robe on before I walk into the courtroom. And a lot of people will have the marshal say, all rise, court is in session. I don't in part because there are so many people that are already in the courtroom that I just come in the courtroom, I open all of my files and I stay in the courtroom for all of the proceedings so that we don't have to do up and down. And with a large volume like I have, it's not uncommon that we'll have one hearing after another. So it's really a great opportunity to serve our community and work with kids and protect kids. And you and I do drug court on Thursdays together. And so you're one of those people sitting in those chairs, although I'm in a much larger courtroom because drug court is large. And so we'll have the district attorney in drug court, we'll have the public defender, we'll have the treatment provider, we'll have you, our coordinator. So it's just every courtroom has a different purpose. So some courtrooms will be set up for domestics, which is child custody and divorce. Some might be set up for child support, which is just the financial part. Some might be set up for restraining orders. So there's usually a different bent that each court has. In the family courthouse, all the courtrooms on the second floor are either domestic cases, which is family court, which you typically think of a divorce or child custody, or number two, it'll be dependency. There's 3 dependency courtrooms on the second floor, excuse me. The first floor is the juvenile delinquency, restraining orders, and most of the dependency calendars. I just got lucky and got a courtroom on the second floor. So I feel very privileged to have that.
Yeah, your courtroom looks really neat and just organized there too. I'm just looking.
Well, I try to make sure that we have it clean, and that's because just the volume of cases, and I do everything paperless. So when I took this position a couple of years ago, I decided to go paperless because the reports from the Department of Family Services can be, 10 to 40 pages long. And I didn't want to print all that paper out because I think I'm always a recycler and protecting our community. So what I did was I just went online and I have a database of 1,500 cases that I hear, that I've heard in the last 18 months. So I'm really an advocate of trying to go paperless to the extent you can.
I think you cut out there.
Are you there?
Yeah, I see you now. Perfect. Well, that's amazing. Is there do you ever come down from the bench? You're at the top right now. Do you ever come down from the bench?
Yes. So I do come down when there's children in the room. So if we have little kids or even teens, sometimes I'll often step off the bench and I might go and shake their hand. I'll welcome them. Whenever we have an adoption, I always get off the bench at the end and I have a little treasure chest. I'll show you my treasure chest. Oh, yeah, this is my treasure chest. Can you see it? It's filled with fun things for the kids like cars, bracelets, notebooks, pens, and the kids, I will bring it down. The kids who are being adopted and their siblings get to choose something from the treasure box. So I always do. And we also take pictures when we are doing adoption. We always have an adoption time where it's Tuesday mornings and we get down and we take a picture with the Department of Family Services, myself, with the attorney. So it's fun. It's a fun celebratory day.
Pictures are allowed in the room then?
Pictures are allowed in the courtroom with the permission of the court. So it is kind of interesting because people are very sheepish and go, oh, I don't want to take a picture. I don't want to get in trouble. But, the marshal's there. And of course, because of security, we have very strict limitations on what you can and can't do in a courtroom. One of the things you cannot do in a courtroom if you're not in an adoption is you can't ever approach the bench where the judge sits. So I'm a hearing master. I'm considered a judicial officer, but you're not permitted to walk past the table. And those are the tables where each party sits. You must wait for permission to approach the bench. And even the attorneys will always, they want to come up and say they want to talk confidentially about something. They'll come up and they'll say, well, may we approach? And I will say yes. And all the attorneys come up, not just one. I never speak to just one person. Everybody comes up and we chat, address some issues, maybe extremely sensitive issues. You may have the children in the courtroom and maybe there's an allegation of sexual abuse. And you don't want to make the child uncomfortable. So we'll talk about it together up close.
You have like white noise or something to block out if they do come up and approach the bench to have that confidential conversation?
Yes, we have white noise in this courtroom. I know some of the federal courts have classical music, so I think that's kind of fun. So we have just white noise that's just static that goes so that everybody who's in the gallery doesn't hear what the conversation is about. But again, the attorneys are always present, not in the litigants, so no parents or children. It's just the attorneys if it's necessary. Because of due process, which means everybody has a right to know what's going on, I usually do everything on the record so that everybody can hear.
Right. So there's a process, there's a system to the whole courtroom. I'm sure a lot of people, when they enter the courtroom, they're so nervous they don't notice these little things, from the speakers to the microphones to the bar. Like that's the bar, literally and figuratively. I love that. But just everything.
I want to have a big, huge sign that says, "Parents stand here," because so many parents walk in the courtroom and they're terrified and they don't know where they should be standing. And so it is kind of nerve-wracking. So I try to calm them down. I say, if you could please step here, and I show them the table. I just point to the table on the left, and then I just ask them for their names. And then I say, I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves so you know who's present. That's one part that's really hard with this online being video conferencing, because some people will speak without first saying who they are. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to get everybody to say, Pickard or whoever, their name, and then they speak, because otherwise you're constantly going, do I recognize that voice? So
right, if they don't have video, right, and it's just verbal, right. You don't know who's talking. Okay. Well, that's right. Really cool. Thank you for sharing your courtroom with us. Is there any secret thing that you want to tell us about the courtroom last minute, or?
I just think a lot. I'm sorry. So I had my volume down. I hope you could hear me that whole time. One of the things I guess I would just say is that the purpose of the courtroom is for justice, to make sure that your rights are protected, to make sure that your children's rights are protected. And so the goal is to have justice and equity, to make sure we're all doing the right thing within our community, whichever branch of the government that you're working with. So that's why we're here. And I really hope in this next week, as you get your ballots, you'll think a little bit about who you're going to be voting for. And I hope that I've earned your confidence to be able to earn your vote in this election. So please make sure you vote by your mail-in ballot, and the votes will be out in your mailbox within a week or two.
Yes, so check your mailbox. And then next week, I think we're going to have a bunch of different guests come on to speak with us too. So that's exciting. It'll be a surprise on who's going to be on. And again, we are on Facebook, but how else can everybody find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, or on Instagram at pickard4judge.com. Judge, and on my website at pickard4judge.com. So I can be found everywhere, anywhere, and please feel free to reach out. I will try to respond to every posting that's made.
Perfect. Well, thank you for giving us a tour of your courtroom.
Thanks for joining me, you guys. Have a great week. Vote, vote, vote. Every vote counts.
Oh, yes. All right. Bye.
Bye.